We're in the garden today, and I'm gonna show you how I harvest things. What I look for when I'm harvesting a tomato. Did you know there's a way you can test to see when a zinnia is ready to pick? How to ensure you're not picking a bitter cucumber, why I pick my green beans at a certain length, squash, herbs, all the things. So follow along, let's go harvest some stuff. Let's start with tomatoes. My personal favorite, I love tomatoes. So when I'm looking to harvest a tomato, the ideal time to harvest a tomato would be in the middle of the day. Think about like 1, 2 o'clock when it's really hot. All the sugars of that tomato are going to be most concentrated. If they haven't been watered for a few days, you're going to get such a juicy tomato. Makes me excited thinking about it. That is ideal. Well, we don't always get ideal circumstances. If there is a storm rolling in that is going to drench my tomatoes with a bunch of water after having not been watered maybe for a couple days, I'm going to come down and I'm going to pick any tomato that is slightly blushing, meaning blushing. It's started to turn red, there's some green. Once this tomato starts turning red, the gases that make it red will continue to happen, and this will ripen on my counter. If I were to leave this tomato down in the garden, it gets drenched with rain, kind of overwatered almost, it's gonna split. And then that tomato is gonna ripen with that split, and most likely it's gonna rot. It's gonna have a rotten spot, or the whole tomato will rot. So rather than that happening, I will come down, I will pick all my blushing tomatoes, and I will let them on my counter to sit to ripen. So most of the time, that is when I pick my tomatoes, because we are also surrounded by woods. Critters also like a tomato when it's the perfect ideal time to pick, when it's nice and red. So I've had squirrels get my tomatoes and they take a giant chunk out of it and then it's gone. So to avoid that, especially if you have critters around, pick your tomatoes when they're blushing. If you're waiting to pick them until they're like ripe, I think most of mine were picked yesterday because we had a storm rolling in. You could also look for a tomato that is like, if it gives a little bit, if it's soft, that usually means it's ready to ripe. It's ready to ripe. That tomato is usually ready to pick. Next up is green beans. I have my pole beans back there, which is still a green bean. They just grow up a trellis. And then I have my bush beans down in here in between my tomatoes and peppers. And a bush bean is just a green bean that produces in a bush type. And they produce all of their fruit mostly within like 2 to 3 weeks. So these are kind of petering out. But let me show you what I look for. With green beans, I like my beans to be tender and not stringy. So I'm looking for a bean that is kind of on the young side. And for those, you're just gonna pull and snip. Don't just yank. You can sometimes break that branch, which it does send out new flowers, and each flower is a green bean, so you don't want to break the stem. So I'm just looking for young green beans that are gonna be nice and tender. They're not gonna be stringy. Let me show you one that would be like overripe. Found one. Oftentimes, especially with bush beans, they will get lost. They blend in. But when a bean looks like this, and you can see the color is different, it's kind of bumpy, that bean has started to produce like its seed. Whoop. And you don't want to eat that. Green beans seeds are usually very tender and small. This is so hard I can barely, I can't squeeze it in my hand. So this is an overripe bean. If you want to save seeds, this is a great way to save seeds. Just leave it on the plant and it'll dry up. But that plant will also think it's done producing and it'll stop. The pole beans are exactly the same. They just grow up instead of in a bush. And again, I'm just picking them when they're nice and young. Next up is hot peppers. So hot peppers, like I have jalapenos back here, you can really pick at any stage. So this would be when I would be looking to pick a jalapeno to make cowboy candy. You could also let this turn red on the plant, and a jalapeno plant, any kind of hot pepper really. Any hot pepper that is green will still be spicy, but if you let it go red, it'll be a little bit more spicy. So I like to make my cowboy candy out of green jalapenos. So this would be what I would be looking for to harvest a jalapeno. And then for cayenne peppers over here, these are still getting kind of big. So for cayenne peppers over here, these are green, and I'm gonna wait until they are bright red to harvest those, because I like to make like crushed red pepper, and I want that to be like really red. So I'm gonna wait until those are completely red. Let's talk about bell peppers and lunchbox peppers. This bell pepper right here, it's beautiful, isn't it? You could harvest this now and use it for fajitas or something. I like my bell peppers to be red. I think I have red and orange in here, and so I will wait to harvest that unless we do something like stuffed peppers or fajitas. I'll harvest that now. So you can kind of harvest peppers at any stage. This is a candy cane pepper, and this one will turn red, orangish, and I'll wait till that starts to turn color and is bright. Peppers are really, sweet peppers are really the best when they are full color, like they're red, orange, nothing on there. Back here you can see there's some more peppers. And for bell peppers, all I would do is pull this up and it would let go of that stem. You could also clip it if you wanted to. Just trying to find a lunchbox pepper to show you all, but I think my kids have gotten most of those. Whenever they're ready, they are gone. Oh, here's a little one. So here's a tiny lunchbox pepper, and that will turn red or orange usually when it's ready. And when they are bright red, oh, they are so sweet and delicious. Oh, here's a candy cane that's starting to ripen. First of all, isn't this plant so pretty? Look how pretty it is. So this is a candy cane pepper that is going to be red, and that will be probably like another couple days, and we'll harvest that. And again, we'll just pull it and it'll let go of that stem there. Some more bell peppers back there. There is also a banana pepper here, and banana peppers, they are not good if they're green. Let me get in here. Banana peppers are not good when they are green. So you want to wait until they're nice and yellow. Like, I don't know if this will show up on camera, but this is still kind of like a tint of green. So I will let this until it's nice and yellow like a banana, and then that pepper will be really good for fresh eating. Let's talk herbs here for a minute. Ah! I'm knocking stuff over. Okay, I can't get the camera. Let's talk herbs for a minute. So I have my oregano and some sage and some thyme here. And that is a question I actually get asked a lot, how to harvest herbs. And there is a way to harvest them that they continue to produce. So let me show you what that looks like. This is sage right here. So rather than going all the way down to the bottom of the plant, I'm going to take a shears and I'm going to clip it right there. Oh, is it showing up? Above those two leaves. And I will take that top part there. What will happen is that little stem there will start to grow more sage in the armpits of that plant, and it'll continue to grow. So I'll do that with all of that. The same thing with oregano here. Oregano is best when it's just getting ready to flower. So I just clipped a lot of this yesterday, and I should have showed you all that. But here's one that you can kind of see. There would be like a little flower bud getting ready to open. And I would just come down here and I would just clip at the base there and take that part and dry that. And I would do that for that whole patch there. That's gonna be the same with any kind of herb you're picking. This is lettuce leaf basil, and I'm gonna take my shears, and again, I'm gonna find that stem here, and I'm just gonna go to that crevice there. You could go down further if you wanted to with this one, because it's pretty tall. But I always just take the top growth, and there I have my basil. Or you could harvest one leaf at a time if you're just wanting like one leaf, and take that and it will still continue to grow. But that is how you harvest most all herbs. Let's talk squash. Squash is one of those plants that you leave on the plant and you think, oh, I'll get that tomorrow. And then you come out and you have like a newborn baby in your garden. Let me show you what I look for. This is an early prolific squash. I have found, if you're in Middle Tennessee, this plant does really good against squash bugs and vine borers. These have held up I've had to pull other squashes all summer long, but these are still standing strong. So in here, you can see this little guy here. I'm gonna pull him and let me show you the trick I do for that. So for this squash, I'm just gonna twist gently and that will pop off just like that. Pretty easy to harvest squash. You could, well, there's bees everywhere. Thought there was another one hanging out in here. My kids might have got it. Oh, it's underneath there. Okay. So this one, this is like perfect. This is gonna be nice and tender and buttery. When they get super big, they're just tough and I don't think they have any flavor. So like this one down in here, I'm gonna leave him until tomorrow, but he will be ready to harvest tomorrow, maybe even tonight. Squash grow really, really fast. I saw another one in here. This is a Black Beauty squash, and these plants are a little bigger, and I'm telling you, these suckers can hide in here. So this blossom, well, not even on it. So this blossom has fallen off. It's kind of gross, but that's fine, not a big deal. So again, I'm just gonna go in here, I'm gonna turn, try not to break the stem. I feel like with the Black Beauties, I always break the stem. Yeah, see, broke the stem. But again, what I'm looking for is about this size. I don't like them bigger than this because they're just tough. The only reason I would let a squash get a little bigger than this is to make zucchini bread, because then I'm not really concerned about the texture or the taste as much. But for like a dinner to saute, this size is like perfect. And put that in some butter with some salt and pepper and some fresh herbs. You got yourself a delicious garden side. Okra is one of my absolute favorite things to eat in the summer. And a lot of times I'll hear people say, oh, it was woody and it was gross and I didn't like it. Well, if you are eating a tough or woody okra, you have waited too long to pick it. So our favorite way to eat it as a family is just raw, literally with some salt and pepper, maybe some ranch. And when I'm looking to pick it raw to eat like that, I'm looking for one that is this size. That little guy right there, we're gonna clip it right there at the base, and he will be so tender, he will be so delicious, and it'll just be the best. Now, if I'm looking to harvest them for like a meal, when I'm cooking for like, say, fried okra, I'll wait until they're a little bigger, like maybe like that, but no longer than that, because if they're longer than that, they're not good. They're gonna be hard and they're gonna have like a weird texture. But when you pick them when they're little like that, they are soft and delicious. Just gonna clip it right there. Don't ever pull okra off a plant. You will damage the plant. These stems are super tough, and so you don't want to just go yanking it off that plant. I always clip it. An okra like this is so tender. I'm just gonna relish in the moment for a minute. This is a red burgundy okra, and I have actually found that when they're picked this size, they're also not very slimy. So, really good. Try it. Last, but definitely not least, the one I always tell people to put in their gardens is flowers. So let me tell you my trick to harvesting zinnias so they last longer and they don't flop over in your vase. Let's go through it. With zinnias, the way I know when they're ready to harvest is I shake them. And do you see how that guy, he's not flopping around, he's very steady. Let me show you the opposite. So this guy here, see how when I flop it, he's just flopping everywhere. That one is not ready to pick. If you were to pick this one right now, it wouldn't last long in the vase, and eventually that head would just droop over. But this guy, again, see how he's not really flopping? But this one is all over the place. So this one is ready to pick. So when I pick zinnias, I look all the way down at the base there. And I will clip right there. Whoop, he's gonna disappear into there. Okay. So there you have a zinnia that has a really strong stem. It's gonna hold up in a vase. And what will happen with this zinnia is it'll grow buds out of the side there and a new flower will grow. So with zinnias, the more you cut them, the more they grow. So I come down here at least once a week and I just pick a huge bouquet of flowers. But if you go along, just shake them and you can see which ones are ready to harvest. A lot of these are actually ready. Well, this one's kind of floppy. Thanks for joining me in a little harvest tour of my July garden. This video was made because someone suggested, hey, why don't you make a video showing us how to harvest things? So I love that. Give me more suggestions. Let me know in the comments what you want to see, what videos you want to see in the future. Thanks for hanging out with me.